Oh, wait a minute. I'm on. uh, Too funny. Hey, this is John Chen, and I'm just messing with you. And we just wanted to share with you that this, of course, is another episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Okay, yeah, let's see. I was showing you fun things that I was doing with ChatGPT today. All right, if you are here watching us here on social media, make sure and do us a favor and subscribe, share, like, or comment. If you comment live on the show, we might actually answer your question. If you want more episodes like this, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online. Subscribe on any one of the 13 platforms that you listen to podcasts on. A new episode drops every Wednesday, every single week. And if you don't have your ticket, go get one. It's at engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON for the Engaging Conference. The first time ever, gonna be hybrid, 150 people live here in Seattle, 500 virtual Zoom audience, and an infinite other great free ticket audience for you people here on YouTube. So, meanwhile, got another guest for you here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. This gentleman, he works with course creators. He works with course creators and subject matter specialists who rely on webinars to make money. He's the author of Say It Once, Sell It Often. Is focused on replacing relentless competition with recurrent revenue. That book's available now, February 2024. He's the host of the Webinar Wealth podcast. Let's welcome the webinar wizard, Johnny Beirne.
Thank you very
Johnny,
much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
love the red curtains. Have you ever had the dream of or the pleasure of standing on some massive stage and having the red curtains open on you, Johnny?
No, I'm afraid not. So I still have to do it virtually. I've been on many stages, but never had the big red curtain. So
Okay, but the good question is how long you've been using the red curtain?
yeah, for quite some time now. Yeah, a couple of years at this point. Yeah.
So you probably have opened that red curtain for yourself probably a good couple hundred times or so, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Uh, so I love that around here. So thank you so much for joining us, Johnny Beirne. Where are you calling in again from today?
I am in the northwest of Ireland, in a little town, about population 4,673 at the moment, but have the pleasure of working with people all over the world.
And that is the cool part about virtual is that you literally can be anywhere and that you can connect with people. So of course I'm connecting with you at Seattle here, Washington, 9:36 in the morning. As you saw, I was drinking some coffee here.
Mhm.
One of our favorite things. I think now let me see. Your Irishness. See, are you or are you not a whiskey drinker?
I have been known to have a whiskey or two. Now and again.
And do you have a favorite brand, especially, I know that some people in Ireland, I thought it was really cool. There's a brand called the Sexton, and it's one of the first women-based Irish whiskeys that won an award in 2017 as the best Irish whiskey in the world. And she actually got Jameson to help her out. I thought that was really cool. And they said, why would you help out a competitor? And they said, we just want the best whiskey to come from Ireland. So I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah, yeah.
you have a
Jameson
favorite.
would be a favorite for sure. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. Well, speaking of favorites, Johnny, do us a favor. For my friends who don't know you yet, why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do?
Yeah, so I am Johnny Beirne, as I mentioned. I'm based in Ireland. I have been helping people create online courses for over a decade, and more recently, particularly during COVID, I help people address the elephant in the room, and that's primarily that they're showing up in a way that doesn't really do them justice. So what I help them to do is avoid in their live presentations having to say things like, hold on till I share my screen and can you see my slide, and all that kind of fumbling around that makes us look unprofessional and unprepared. So I have the pleasure of helping people set up simple, effective studios so they can effortlessly transition into the slide, continue to present, walk around as if they're in a training room if they want, or whatever they want, go back to slides and go back to camera, all that kind of good stuff.
So, I do give the tip to stand up, and I just recently gave a keynote for people about that, and they're like, you should have stood up earlier, right? And so I'm not going to do this whole interview standing up, walking through here, Seattle, inside of this part. Now,
Mhm.
Johnny, Let's see. So talk about what did you do before March of 2020? Of like, have you been doing this webinar thing? Because webinars were a thing before that. Have you been doing that webinar thing long before, or was COVID one of these catalysts to get you into the virtual world?
Yeah, I was doing it long before. I was creating courses long before, and I was using webinars, as a lot of us do, to sell the courses. And really, the way the kind of studio or the simple studio setup evolved was I've always been looking at ways to create courses faster that look better and more engaging. And as I was sharing tips and COVID took off, people were asking, can you show me how to show up live the way you show up in your courses? And I'm like, absolutely. So I developed a program called Presentation Transformation and got really busy during COVID. But yeah, I was doing it long before that. I was going to get a t-shirt that said, I told you so, but I wouldn't be that rude. But I was tempted. I was tempted. So yeah, and yeah, so like what people love is you know, you don't need a huge space. We're really showing all the secrets now, but you don't need a huge space or a huge budget to pull something off that looks really, really professional. And that's what I love to show people how to do.
Oh, I love that you pull the curtain. You know, this is one of the buttons that I have set up, which is this. I was saying, well, this is how I spent my Corona vacation, right? Is I just made a green screen that was big enough to walk around.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like great minds think alike, right?
And I think I broke this camera. Oh, it's good. Okay, yeah. So this is what's on my side. I have no idea what's on your side, but this is, you know, and people, you don't need this much tech to do this stuff. In fact, you can do almost everything that he's showing now. You can do everything he's doing now, you know, with a single computer, technically. I mean, you can do a lot of these things with that. And so that's because people get intimidated, I think. So I don't know if, Johnny, if you've had that experience, but have you ever had
Yeah, I mean,
clients
I've
who are
just got
intimidated? Yeah.
yeah, one computer, a couple of screens, a teleprompter, and a mic, and a few lights, and yeah, you can really do a lot with a small space and a small budget for sure. I mean, I sometimes do walk around the desk a little bit and say, well, there's the shotgun mic, and there's the lights, and there's the monitors, and there's the teleprompter, and so on, and they're like, wow, you're really small, or you've got a huge desk. But so it's good fun to show people around for sure.
Well, what's one of your biggest success stories? Like, tell me about a speaker who was struggling and that you came in and did something and really, really helped them out. So here, I'll give you one. I'll give a shout out to my good friend Stephen Muhammad Matley. Was working on a speech, and actually, one of the core parts too was like not on the tech side. He was talking about, he was quoting everybody else. And one of the things that I learned from National Speakers Association, I went to last year's conference in Influence, and one of the things that stuck with me the most was that a Hall of Fame speaker had a client who kindly told him and said, you know, stop quoting other people. If we wanted to hear from them, we would have hired them, but we hired you. And so he changed his whole talk to talk about it. And then we put him on a green screen. And then we ran all the authentic pictures from his journey. It was kind of his life story. And we ran them all behind them. And so he was in his material. So anyways, that's one of the biggest success stories. He got like 11 pages of testimonials from this online keynote. What's one of your
Yeah.
best success stories, Johnny?
Yeah, so a good client, Rory Gilmartin, he's over in New Zealand, and like a phenomenal coach, has been for over 2 decades. And really, as what we do started to become more popular, he really just knew that he wasn't doing himself justice. That when
Right.
he was turning up, it didn't match with how good he was at what he did. So I basically asked him to send me a little video.
Johnny.
He basically sends me a video of around the house,
Yeah.
and then I
What?
basically send him back a little.
Is the space that I do all my Zoom calls in.
So I send him back some freeze frames with some tips, and then I meet him, and then he goes from this kind of setup
I
here.
want you to know that in the very last month, Johnny's helped me tremendously.
So I'm not going to play the full testimonial, but the point is that he just loves how he can maintain eye contact, effortlessly transition into the slides, can focus on the material. And as I do say to people, you can focus on sharing your message instead of fumbling with sharing your screen. And that kind of sums it up, right?
Yeah, that's so funny that sharing a screen, and I think actually sharing specifically a video is still like one of the top 3 technical problems that people have, which is that they forget to check the 2 boxes, right? And so either the video is jerky or worse. They play videos, they can hear the sound, so they have no idea, but nobody else can hear the sound on the video.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just a big problem. And then if it's embedded in a PowerPoint slide, and it can look pixelated, or worse still, they go over to YouTube, and the list goes on and on. So yeah.
Johnny, though, I'm kind of starting to think that my next book, I like had this idea yesterday that I want to write about all the disasters I've seen over the last 4 years and then put the fix for it afterwards, right? So that
great. Yeah, that would be, because people can really resonate with the problems because they run into them every day. They've probably seen them or been the cause of them, so to speak. And and then how to fix them would be great for sure.
And then my other part, it's kind of interesting too, is like I'm going to be working on my brand here, and it's not just engaging virtual meetings. What I discovered as the world reopened back up is that engagement is still a problem in in-person meetings. You get this and like you're back face to face with people, and now it seems that the majority of speakers went back to, I'm going to talk for 45 minutes, I'm going to do 15 minutes of Q&A. And that is like, I think sometimes now the hallmark of not the engaging format. I don't know if you've seen that now too in the return to in-person, Johnny.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just the nature of how we consume content. I mean, if you take TikTok and primarily TikTok, really, short, snappy, consumable content with a lot of pattern interrupt, that's kind of re-engaging and engaging and all that kind of stuff. And then it's so easy to bore people or for people to get bored. And it's not attention deficit. It's just that the quality and the bar has been raised and what gets their attention. So we really have to, use things like pattern interrupt, where we effortlessly transition into the slide. Then we go to slides only. Attention is a currency, for example, is a big part of what I share with people. My main message to people is the first investment your audience makes is not with their money, it is with their attention. And if they don't pay attention, they don't pay at all, and that's really the message I'm trying to get out to. So we really have to, that's why I say I help people address the elephant in the room. I bring, something more than just PowerPoint or death by PowerPoint to presentations and show people how to do it, like your good self.
Well, so let me just check. Have you ever heard of the Presentation Summit?
I don't believe I have, actually.
Oh, you got to meet this guy. So Rick Altman is a 22-year convener of this conference.
Oh, I know of Rick. Yeah, I wasn't aware of the event, but thank you. Yes, so go on.
Oh
Sorry.
my gosh, because he will host 2 things on here, Johnny, and I think that you either need to attend and or you need to apply to speak, right? Because he has an in-person conference in Oxnard, California next year, and it might be his last. So you better hurry. I'm telling you, hurry up. It's going to be in I think it's October, and then he'll have a virtual, right? And so all the same speakers actually present on virtual, and it's probably like 80+% different audience, and so that way we can get all the people from international and other places around there. So, but check it out, because they have 150 of the top presentation designers from around the world, including an original developer of PowerPoint. Like, I used to work at Microsoft for a decade, so it's really cool to meet somebody who actually worked on the software that is PowerPoint today. And all I can tell you is that I've been using PowerPoint for over 30 years, and I'm still learning stuff, and my presentations have gotten better because of going to the Presentation Summit. That's a shout out for Rick Altman. So
great. I'll definitely check it out.
So that leads me to this. So what has to happen for you, Johnny, when you're the attendee, right? You're not the presenter. You're the attendee and somebody else is virtual. What has to happen for you to be engaged?
Sure. So first and foremost, I would expect, if they're going to get my attention from the outset, then they have to keep it. But if they're going to get it in the first place, they need to show up in a way that does them justice, that's professional, that's respectful to the audience, and not turn up like they're in a witness protection program where you can barely see them. You wouldn't recognize their voice because of the microphone, and there's so much echo. It's like they're hiding out in a cave. I'm like, come on, guys! It doesn't take a lot to show up a little better than this. And then it really is a little bit of avoiding what we discussed, avoiding the death by PowerPoint, avoiding disappearing up into the corner while they're presenting and all that kind of stuff, and not fumbling around with sharing their screen and saying things like, "Can you see my slides?" Like, I mean, if you were on stage, you wouldn't say, "Can you see me?" Unless it's kind of some part of a kind of whatever presentation or whatever, right? So I really try and get people to turn up the same online as they would offline. And then, content is still key. If they're talking all about them, and it's like that famous saying we have in training, I don't care what you know until I know that you care. So, if they don't show a little bit of empathy for the audience, and that, this is going to be great, and it's not their whole life story for the first 20 minutes, that it's really transformational content, a little bit of humor, tastefully done is always good. Just be careful on that one, of course. And they're kind of the main things. Look clear, sound clear. Give me a return for my time, which is my most precious asset. I'm sitting here, I'm listening. Give me a return for that time. And as I say, don't look like you're in a witness protection program.
Okay, what about this? Top 3 killers, right? So like things that happen in the first 5 minutes that signal to you, Johnny Beirne, that like this is going to be a train wreck.
Yeah, I guess, and I'm going to get the T-shirt done, is you're on mute, and then on the back it'll say you're still on mute, right? Right? So first of all, they start, okay, a bit of practice, and they shouldn't. So they're on mute. Oh, and they have to be told they're on mute, unless the host has muted them by accident and they didn't know. That would be kind of a first and foremost. And then, really hold on till I share my screen, and that kind of fumbling around and stuff like that. I mean, really kind of effortless as possible. And then just, nicely, we talked about PowerPoint. So like tastefully designed slides, a little bit of humor, nice bit of storytelling, and really something I can take away and go, that was worth listening to, that was worth watching, that was worth my time.
That's so funny too, right, Johnny? Because nobody in an in-person environment verbalizes that they're going to share their screen, right? Could you see it, right? 1,000 people live, and you walk up there, hey, it's Johnny Beirne, and now I'm going to share my slides. Right? No, why do people verbalize? I understand that maybe you can't pat, scratch at the same time, but why did people get into verbalizing? Do you have any idea why people started verbalizing?
I guess it's part of the function that they actually have to do it. They have to, they have to do it, but they don't have to say they're doing it.
But they do.
But they do. I think they just feel like, because they were kind of thrown into Zoom, and because there's a pause where they have to do something. Whereas like if you're speaking at TED or TEDx or event, you and everybody else can see the screen if there is going to be one, so they don't have to say it. I think sometimes it's a bit of filler where there's silence as they actually go over the mouse. But if they were using what we're using, which is like a simple switch, they could have their thumb at the ready, which I always do. I know this one is me, so I know the one below it is the slides, and into the slides I go, and then the one below that is slides only. And if I want to be in the slide, I can do that as well, and really emphasize, a particular point, and then go back to slides and back to full camera. So I've stopped saying it a long time ago, and I respectfully make fun of it now. It's like, it's like getting the T-shirt. You're on mute. You're still on mute.
The T-shirt is right on, and it's the sad fact, at least in my observations, Johnny, is that less than 1% of the presenting population is doing it to this level. Is that what you're seeing? That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and it's for a couple of reasons. One, two or three buckets. One is that I'm so good I could show up in my tidy whities and present, and it wouldn't matter because I'm so good and I've been doing it for decades. And I'm just, it's got nothing to do with cosmetics, okay? And there's very few of those, thankfully, but they're out there. They have massive egos. But if you take Dean Gariosi, you take Tony Robbins, you take Brendan Bouchard, you take Billie Jean, they're all turning up in ways that do them justice, as if they were on stage. Then you have people who think it's a nice to have, and it looks good, and maybe someday I'll eventually think about considering doing it. And then you have people who believe that it costs a fortune, which it doesn't, that it's very technical, which it's not. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's a lot easier than you think. And I know the people you work with and the people I work with, they're so pleasantly surprised with how little it costs, how much space they don't need, and how relatively easy it is versus what they see me do. Like this is a $30 green screen and instead of the $10,000 television that some people. Now you can't write on it. You can write over there on something else like an iPad, but you can still get the same effect. So yeah.
What's amazing too. Wait, now let me just check. Have you seen the new Zoom feature? Let's see if I can get this to work today. Where it's a presenter mode. So here, I'm going to break something here. Let's see if I can do it right. This one where you can put yourself in something. There. So now you can see me here in the bottom corner.
Yeah.
This is something Zoom put in like the last couple of weeks. Now let me show you the other version. So, by the way, so when you hit share screen, before you pick, on the right-hand side, there are 4 new icons. And here's like one. Here's watch 50-50. So now it should be me 50-50, like I'm here and there's a slide on the other side. And so there's a couple other things that are inside of the share inside of that. So anyways, I wanted to see, Johnny, have you seen these two new features or this new feature of
I used to play around with where you upload the PowerPoint and you can position yourself in front of your slides.
Yeah.
I actually hadn't seen these side by side.
Yeah, so that's new. And so now there's less and less excuses, Johnny, because I've been showing people for PowerPoint as a virtual background too for like 2 years, and there's still very few people that are using it.
Yeah. I suppose what I love about the Switch is that you have that flexibility, and maybe there's hotkeys in these new features with Zoom. But yeah, I love to be able to press and end up in my slides or whatever, and avoid what you see on the screen here, which is the person just nodding off as you're presenting. That's what we're looking to avoid, right?
Absolutely. And there's the research that goes along with it that says it's I think somebody said that the research is 10 minutes. Like if you don't change something up within 10 minutes, that's when your audience is going to nod off. So, and it can be, this is why the graphics and the production is so important, that it will reset your timer for the engagement part because almost nobody's doing it. Right. So that, again, changing slides, changing a view, changing an angle, doing a different activity. And so John Medina, in the book Brain Rules here at our UW or University of Washington, espouted the fact of the 10 minutes. So
yeah. And it's getting less because people are climatized to slides changing. Even though the slide is changing, they're climatized to nothing has happened, only a change in the slide. So if we're going to, keep their attention, we got to do something more than just the slide changing, particularly when we end up in a box in the corner, so we like if a picture is 1,000 words, as we say, then a video must be tens of thousands. So we really need to change it up a bit. And that 10 minutes is going to get less and less and less over time.
So what are some of your favorite technologies? And since you're a little bit on the tech side here, Johnny, why don't you share what are like maybe three of your top favorite pieces of technology? And by the way, Johnny, I think you might have inspired me, right? You know, a Stream Deck is one of my top pieces of technology here. I'll showing people like this is what we're doing, and I think you're going to inspire me to get my third one and put it up so I can access it while I'm standing up. I mean, the other one is to push the button again on my desk. I haven't raised my desk in a while. Yeah, so he's got a little tripod. Oh, that's great. He's got a stand up with a mouse and a piece.
Stream Deck.
But I did find that this part of just leaving the camera and the desk in the same place and then just being able to get up and walk around during a part is one of my favorite things. So going back to that, what are two or three of your favorite technologies, Johnny?
Yeah, so the main one, both for health reasons, because sitting is the new smoking, is the
Yeah.
sit-stand desk. I used to have two cameras, one for meeting sitting down and one for meeting standing up. And then it just caused all sorts of problems, really. So you hit a button, the desk goes up, cameras at eye level, which is really important.
Yes.
And then I have the teleprompter where I can see you, which is great for one-to-ones. The second one, as you mentioned, is the Stream Deck. You can get one with 6 buttons, 15 buttons, or 32. And, you know, even with that and OBS, which is free software, you can go 1, 2, 3. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, and you've got 3 buttons left, right? And OBS is free. Moving on from that, then I'm a big fan of the green screen because it is a relatively small space that I work from. The windows behind me, it's not pretty when I pull it back in terms of a background for presenting, but it also allows me to give that walk around training experience that I love to do because I work with a lot of trainers. And then I've got a magnet on my clicker so it sticks to the bottom of my little podium so that the clicker is always close to hand, and then I can walk around and talk to people about avoiding shrinking into the corner or death by PowerPoint. So the Stream Deck, the sit-stand desk, they would be my go-to ones, and then I get a lot of value out of the teleprompter with a little mini monitor inside so that I can see my one-to-one clients, or in interviews like this, I can see you, and if I see you nodding off, I can change it up a bit.
What teleprompter are you using, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, the TP 100, but I'm hoping to get the Elgato as well. But it's basically, I stuck a 10-inch mini monitor inside it.
Yeah.
So it's always there, and then I can see you as I look down the lens of the camera as well. So I made that before. When I say I made it, I kind of came up with the idea. I thought, I was wondering, how could I, because what a lot of people do, as you probably know, is they put in a tablet into the teleprompter, they hit record, they're reading, and they go, oh, there's a mistake there, take it out, refresh the document, the camera moves slightly, they stand up again and go, oh, something's wrong. So the mini monitor with a splitter for $30 is permanently inside the teleprompter. The new Elgato one has a monitor built in, so yeah.
Yeah, so I've been using the Elgato one here. Here's let's see if I got a version of it here. This one right here is the same thing that he was talking about. Here's kind of two of my, you know what's amazing, Johnny, is that I wasn't sure if I was going to use this, but I got to tell people now, I use this every day of every minute I'm on virtual. That's how important this teleprompter has become. Here are some of my tips. So I had to move my monitors up and down to make space for it, which is okay. The second tip is that I actually put a strip of black tape here because my monitor is still angled just a little bit down for the way I have my camera set up. So I put a piece of tape that doesn't interfere with the camera but blocks my view of the monitor, so I have something that's less distracting. And then the third thing is that you can really change what's inside of there. So right now you can see I run Zoom in dual screen mode, which means I can put a second window. The active speaker, in this case Johnny, is always in there. So if there's multiple people, that screen will change as people talk. So I'm always looking in the eyes of the people who are talking. It's so genius. But the last part is that you can do this. I click the button on the text here, and now your intro was in here, right? So if you can see words scrolling in here, works with course creators and subject matter specialists who rely on webinars to make money. I look like I'm looking exactly at the camera while I'm reading lines that I have here. Yeah. Actually, this is going to bring me to one of my favorite parts. I got a new part of my program, and this is called Speed Round. So, Johnny, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you just got to try and answer as fast as possible. Are you
Sure.
okay with that?
I am.
Okay, let's see. And here, let's see. I have, okay, I got a couple buttons ready for you. Okay, Johnny Beirne, what's your favorite book?
The One Thing.
Ooh, there we go. Okay, great. Who's your best course creator?
Danny Iney.
Ooh, I gotta learn that one. Favorite subject matter specialist?
Tony Robbins.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm with you that. Weirdest person you've ever worked with? Be kind. Weird in a good way.
Thankfully, nobody really too weird, I guess.
Oh, you haven't worked with me. Wait,
John.
there we go.
John's the answer.
Fill in this sentence. Wealth is.
Overrated.
Wow, that's a good one. Oh, come on, my buttons are so slow today. There we go. How does one of your clients stand out?
They maintain eye contact and don't have to say, hold on till I share my screen.
Thank goodness. What's the best thing you've ever done with money?
Giving it away.
Oh, who's your favorite charity?
Northwest Hospice, for people who, they're in their last couple of days.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's a whole nother episode. Best place to read a book?
In bed?
You don't sound so sure. What's your favorite virtual tech you haven't talked about yet?
My whiteboard, my sketch pad.
Oh, okay. Is a sketchpad like something you can telestrate on? Is that you can? Oh. It's just a whiteboard, or is it? It's just an app? Oh, it's a touchscreen, right? With a pen. You got a mouse here. Okay, cool. Oh, I see it. I see it. I got it. Okay, and then what's your wish for 2024?
To publish my next book.
And what's your next book going to be called?
Presentation Transformation.
Oh, well, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, let's do this. So, Johnny, thank you for surviving speed round.
Thank you for testing me and putting me on the spot.
What is you're writing a new book, so you also, you're ahead of the curve too in this particular aspect. I'm going to say that as a compliment. Actually, I want to give a shout out to John Davin, who's watching us on Facebook Live. Thank you, John. What do you foresee, or what wishes do you have for virtual and hybrid? Like 10, 20, 30 years down the road, what do you want to see happen?
Yeah, I guess that more people embrace the importance of what we discussed, and then, so I guess if they do, then as things change and new technologies come along, they'll keep up with them and they won't completely be left behind, if that makes sense. So I talk to people regularly who really struggle with using computers. And they would say they never really had the opportunity to use them. And now the gap is so big, they feel it's way too late. And I wouldn't like that to happen with people who present a lot, that they don't start to improve now, so that because it's always changing and improving, when new stuff comes along, the gap between them and those who use it will be so big that they will be left behind. I mean, we talk about being about digital literacy or digital illiteracy, and I just think I wouldn't like great people who have great messages to share to stop presenting because they've just been completely left behind by tech.
Yeah, I think one of the other pieces that's around there, it's really on the never too late. It's kind of like cell phone generations, right? The telephone, it's like going from copper to wireless. You can jump now 2 or 3 generations because you can, but you have to want to. You have to like right, like you have to find somebody like Johnny or myself or something like that. And this is why I don't mind promoting all the other people. They're like, people are like, that other person is like in the same space as you. And I'm like, let me just tell you, right? But like, people ask me about why I'm so passionate about what I do, Johnny. And my answer to this is that it's to reduce suffering, right? And the people that suffer the most are the virtual and hybrid attendees when stuff is not right. And I just want more Johnny Burns in the world, right? To be there to make sure that these virtual and hybrid audiences are not suffering. In fact, they're doing the inverse, that they're thriving, that the education is out there. Like, you're right. These people who have something to say that is something really, really valuable now, possibly have like the biggest stage. I mean, even Tony Robbins, who you talked about, suddenly realized he used to be able to hit like 1,000 to like 10,000 people. But when he realized he could speak to 45,000 people or more, that he helped Matthew McConaughey set up his, and he had 2.5 million people. You're creating your own television station.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the potential. And I think that's what's really great. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I just wouldn't, exactly. I wouldn't like people with great messages to share and wisdom and to be left like to just not present it online because they feel that the tech is beyond them. And even today, as we've demonstrated, you don't need a lot of space, you don't need a huge budget. And if you're willing to learn, which is a key part in anything new that we take on, if you're willing to learn, like people say to me, oh, Johnny, I'd love to be able to do that, but I couldn't even turn on a computer. And I'm like, well, who turned on the one that brought you onto the Zoom call? I mean, did someone like, oh, well, I don't mean, well, I said, well, please don't use that sort of narrative that is not going to serve you well. Right. You can turn on a computer. You do know how to use email. Look at all the technical stuff you've learned so far in your life, irrespective of your age. So a little switch and some inexpensive software and a bit of guidance from people like me and you, and you'd be pleasantly surprised with how relatively easy it is versus the return that they're going to get.
Okay, speaking of return, right? You said you would donate to hospice. So now I do want to ask, why hospice? Why is hospice important to you, Johnny, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I have an uncle there now, but they do phenomenal services, like, because it is essentially for people who the hospital can do no more. Right. So, heaven's waiting room. And like I go there every week, and to see what the nurses and doctors have to and want to, but the great services that provide, and it doesn't get the funding that the hospitals get necessarily, and it's a vital service. I mean, for a lot of people, it's where they're going to see their last couple of days, and dignity is a huge part of it, comfort, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's valuable for sure.
Well, I'll give a shout out to one of our past trainers. Bob Pike was a legend in the training field, and he passed last year from cancer, and he had nothing but so many great things to say about the hospice that was in Arizona that helped him through that final time. And like, we're all going to be there somewhere someday, right? That's the one thing we do know. All right, death and taxes is around the corner. So thank you for that. I got one more question, which is, so what do you think the highlight virtual moment was in the last 4 years for you? Whether it was presenting or it was, seeing or meeting somebody else. What was one of the highlight moments in the last 4 years, Johnny?
Yeah, I guess recently I had the opportunity of doing an event with Peter Sage, which was great. We had over 110 people show up, and that was great. And genuinely, just the opportunity based on where I'm based to meet, and be interviewed by great people like you. It's also a highlight. I'm not saying that because you're here in front of me. I'm genuinely saying that. And so, yeah, I'm privileged and honored to be on this show and to have worked with great people, New York Times bestsellers, and other people around the world. I never would have thought, starting out in this 10 years ago from, where I'm based, that I would have that reach. And we've been talking about it. That's the opportunity with virtual presenting that's available to us all. We're just helping people to do it as best they can and better.
All right, let's play a little trivia right here. These are some of the famous people I've gotten a chance to work with. I'll give you an easy one. Well, I'll take the hard one. This is Jay Bhattacingya. He's the author of the TV show The Walking Dead. I was like all of these people's producers. Now, I know you're from Ireland, so your odds of knowing all of these might be a little bit lower. Hi, Philip Jones. Thank you for watching. Do you know who this is? I'll give you some clues along the way.
I don't.
5 dysfunctions of a team.
Sure. Yeah. Name not coming to me. I know from Shark Tank, because I watch the show all the time.
That's Damon John. That's good.
Damon John, yeah.
This
Okay.
is Patrick Lencioni.
Mm-hmm.
So he sold 6 million books. Okay, Damon John. And then the last one up here. Okay, the book was Eat, Pray, Love, and she was played by Julia Roberts in a movie of the same name.
Wow, okay. Sorry, I don't know the name, but
I told you it was all U.S. culture, so I kind of knew it on the preface. This is Elizabeth Gilbert, and she went and sold
Right.
16 million books when her book Eat, Pray, Love went out. So
amazing.
all right, well, let's do this last piece. Thank you so much for playing along, Johnny. I know we're playing.
Sure,
random
no
trivia.
problem. Thank you.
The last piece here, Johnny, if you had a magical wand that you could get anybody who's listening to this, like our good friend Philip or John Davin, to remember one thing from this interview, what would be that one thing you want them to remember?
Show up at your best. It's really, really important. Do yourself justice is related to that, and it's not as expensive or technical as you might think.
Outstanding. Make sure and go to johnnybeirne.com. I put the link inside of the liner notes. And wait, you have a resource there too. You said there's a free gift if anybody goes to the website.
Yeah, so the Pattern Interrupt Playbook is on the website, and that is 12 different ways you can avoid your presentation being a snooze fest. You can avoid death by PowerPoint. You can avoid all the things we shared about. 12 different ways you can keep your audience's attention, because, as we said, if they don't pay attention, they don't pay at all.
Outstanding. johnnybeirne.com. I'm going to go get my copy, and you can get yours too. Johnny, thank you so much for tuning in from Ireland.
Thank you.
Outstanding. All right, I'm John Chen here, and you've been listening to another Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Make sure and subscribe, share, like, comment, especially if you want to see more of these. If you want to subscribe to the podcast, go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online, and you can subscribe, see all the past episodes, and get a new one every Wednesday. Last but not least, make sure and get a ticket to the Engaging Conference hybrid for the first time, October 1, 2, and 3, and see the most engaging hybrid conference you've ever been to, starring 3 Hall of Fame speakers. I'm John Chen. I hope you enjoyed this. Oh, and by the way, if you want to be like Johnny, do this. Go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, select interview, and you too could be the next person here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Always there are people in